Hey, it's Dieter and Hutch back alive and kicking, talking 49ers football and closing up shop on the NFL Draft 2025. What a weird one it was, Jake. What a weird one it was.
Got weird quick, but at least 49ers were consistent, and they decided to get weird in the 3rd round, which is, the round they like to get weird in, and then, some people got upset because we said, "Hey, they might have maybe done the thing they do every year," except for, like, last one where they overvalued their 3rd round pick,
hmm
and people went, "How dare you say such a thing, you coward," and we're simultaneously saying, "It could work out," and they're like, "How
Right.
dare you."
We don't need to go and rehash it. Heaven knows I repeated my points on everybody about 45 times in a row during our 2 hour long stream stravaganza the other day. But uh, this 49ers draft class is going to leave us in a interesting spot going into the season on the basis of they needed to get multiple starters, and you and I at least aren't sure that they were able to do that in this draft class. Which brings us to these UDFAs. And are there any gems? I mean, do you feel like they did well with UDFAs in general?
I would say, yeah, out of the 6 they got, I was a fan of
Okay.
at least a couple of them. I really like Stone Blanton. I think he's probably got the highest floor.
Okay.
Drew Moss has some potential.
Yeah.
He's kinda got a funny build where he's super strong upper half. And then Jacob Robinson. I think the problem is, like, Jacob Robinson is kind of Upton Stout-esque.
Hmm.
So, like, I don't know how he's gonna carve out a role, but I really like him.
Well, let's get into Jacob Robinson because he's number one on your list of the UDFAs that you brought in, and he had a wildly productive, accolade-filled career at BYU. Somewhat surprising that nobody took him in the draft because there's no clear athletic limitations comparative to other fifth, sixth, seventh round picks. This is just a guy who
Yeah.
sort of fell through the cracks. And Jake, I'll give my takeaway, and then I'll let you get into the nitty gritty of it. You're right. This guy looks like a classic nickel, and maybe he can be a nickel for a team that apparently now has all the depth at nickel after having no depth at nickel for years, save for their starter, Diamador Lenore, whom they had to convert over to nickel almost begrudgingly. That's neither here nor there. I'm wondering if you could play this guy at free safety.
Maybe,
There's something
maybe.
about his vision and his tenacity, and I think he moves really well. Like free safety, we've talked about before, is a position where it's not just about the athletic traits. And in fact, the athletic traits sometimes belie more problems than they do benefits when it comes to free safeties. It's about vision, tenacity, making the decision, executing the decision. A lot of what the 49ers look for in linebackers, right? Just see, hit, that's kind of what you're looking for in a free safety, although it's see and get ball or cut off route or just see, attack, be decisive. Jacob Robinson, if you can say one thing about his film at BYU, that man was decisive.
No question. I called him a Swiss Army missile.
Love it.
I think yeah, I watched a couple games. I watched 24 Colorado and Oklahoma State. He triggers the ball like a bat out of hell. Like,
Yeah,
and it's funny because that Colorado game, the first play, LeJounte Wester, who I really liked, but
good player.
is weighs less than I do, which is a concern for me as a wide receiver. But he bullied Jacob Robinson on the first play because he just came out and blocked the hell out of him. And I think Robinson was like, "Where did that come from?" Took him off guard a little bit because that probably wasn't super on the tape.
We did not see that on the tape. That is not
No,
LeJounte Wester's game, which is kind of we like a lot of what he had to
he's
do, but he was
yeah,
someone who wanted that free release.
he's feisty. He's feisty and punches above his weight like Robinson. But I think Robinson got taken off guard, and then he made it his mission for the rest of the game to destroy LeJounte Wester, where there are quite literally 3 plays where it's either a screen or like a behind the line of scrimmage drag route,
Mhm.
and Robinson just triggers on it, and he's got a really low attack point,
Yes, he does.
as a tackler, which I
Great call.
like because a lot of guys go high. He goes low and wraps up the legs. He got Wester at least 3 times where you go, "Oh my god." You're like, "I don't know if he is a complete player," right? I don't
No.
I don't know if he's got all of the traits and the ability to do it, but he does see it quickly, and he triggers even quicker, and he's got the aggression to pull that off.
I'm so glad you brought up the tackling. There is a lot, and I know he's 181. That is slight. Uh,
He can play linebacker for the 49ers.
but yeah, Diamador Lenore is 5'10 and 200, right? And I know that the 200 took a while to get to. and he's probably not actually playing at 200. He's probably playing at 95. He's a 200 or below player in all likelihood. He listed at 201. I think with a little bit of weight, Robinson has the ability to be a very Diamador Lenore-like player because he has. What do you describe when you saw Diamador Lenore at Oregon, and then certainly in early OTAs, mini camps, training camps? Feisty as hell, probably to a fault, and he was a really clean tackler for a defensive back, somebody who had a mission, executed mission. I see a lot of Lenore in this guy. I know it's an easy comp to make because it's the San Francisco 49ers, but like the Niners clearly draft, and in this case, sign to a type. And I think that Jacob Robinson is a Diamador Lenore type, and you can't have too many of those on a football team.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I'm actually really excited, and he might just be a guy that like has a few splash plays in camp and then doesn't really do anything, right? Again, these are all UDFAs, so teams are less willing to forgive stuff with undrafted free agents, right or wrong. Even if they're trying to make the best choice, that you draft someone in the third round, you're going to give him at least a year, but you're not going to do that with an undrafted free agent. So he's going to have to prove it. But again, the tape is was draftable for sure. Out of the 6 guys on the list, him, Blanton, and I think you can make an argument for Drew Moss, were all draftable.
Draftable, absolutely. Just going back to kind of do you think that they'll move Robinson around? Like, what do you imagine? It's clear that nickelback's the role. Do you think they play him outside? Do you think that they try him at safety? Do you think they do the
I bet they try him at all 3. I bet they try him at all 3 because they have a tendency to do that. I forget who it was, the safety that they had in camp that they were obsessed with, who's like kind of an undersized guy who like had a few splash plays, but I think he initially was a corner. And they move guys around. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles was initially a safety. I mean, safety to linebacker is a more well-known pipeline.
Classic.
But I bet they try him in a variety of roles. And he sort of played. BYU's weird, where he was barely playing any press man, was almost playing safety at times.
Right.
So I think that would sort of be a natural position for him to transition to.
I really am excited by him, and it helps with the excitement level that there's no risk. Right. So you can only see upside. But when you watch this guy, it is kind of shocking he didn't get drafted. There's a tremendous amount of upside here. And certainly somebody who, we talked about this a lot, frankly, from the 49ers 3rd round pick down. Like there's a lot of special teams upside for those players, which is important. Maybe you don't want it to be so obviously important at pick 75 or 100. Like you're looking for somebody who that's not maybe your main takeaway from their game. But for a UDFA who has no right to make the team, is not going to be given ample opportunity to make the team, I think Jacob Robinson as a special teamer could be really, really fun. And again, they have a type, and they went back to it. Stone Blanton does not seem like their type, though, at least as we talk about athletic testing scores and things like that. But the man had, 124 tackles last year? Maybe some shoddy bookkeeping down in Mississippi State. A lot of them were assisted. But he fires off. You mentioned bat out of hell with Jacob Robinson. You have to say the same for for Stone Blanton, right?
Yeah, it's funny because he didn't test, in terms of the 40-yard dash, and his 3-cone was whatever. He had a good vertical, but his bench wasn't great. So whatever. Like you don't really have a complete picture of what he is as an athlete. But when you watch him on tape, there's a little bit of like lumberiness. There's a little bit of heft.
He's stiff, if we wanted to be generous.
There's a little bit of stiffness, but also he covers ground pretty well, and he gets to the ball, and he is a physical tackler. Yes. Like I think he was listed at in 227. I want to say he's listed at 227. Yeah.
Mississippi State moved him up to 230. In the meantime,
he was not 227.
No,
like he looked like he was at like 235. And for a guy that was like at least playing like that, he looked like he packed an absolute wallop.
Yeah.
He's somebody that like you want to talk about hit and run. It's all he does.
That's
right. I think, I don't think he's like the worst coverage player. But I think he does well enough in terms of coverage, in terms of running, but he's not like a fluid hip flipper. But he also, for a guy with fairly short arms, does pretty well at disengaging against second level blocks. Like there is, and it's funny because you bring up like, the lifting scores, and he didn't bench press that much. But like just on tape, I see him disengaging from second level blocks and not getting attacked in the same way
Right.
like Martin. Like if you just want to compare the two, I think he does better at the second level at steeper competition in the SEC, and that's on tape. So I'm not saying he's the better player,
No.
but what I've seen on tape is like I see a guy that needs to be protected by a defensive front a little bit less.
What stood out to me was the instincts. He has a really good feel for the game. It's probably the reason that he was able to play in the SEC and make tackles the way that he made tackles, despite some of the athletic limitations. He is not somebody who fires like crazy in terms of explosion scores or anything like that. You
Did have
mentioned
a good vertical though.
he did, but it doesn't manifest,
Yeah.
right? He doesn't trigger immediately. There are some guys that first and
Mm.
second step, when they trigger, it's blinding, and those are the kind of guys you're looking for in the draft. This is a guy who sees it, and I think plays with a tremendous amount of instinct, and that's extremely valuable because if you can't see it, it's very hard to hit it. No one's running at you in the NFL. You have to be able to see, anticipate, and attack. And there's a level of conviction that comes along with that. And I think with both Robinson and Stone Blanton, they found two guys who really see it and who, between
Yeah.
the ears, have what it takes to make it. And we'll see if their bodies want to cooperate with them.
You know what's funny? I will say, when I looked at physical comparisons just on RAS, the one guy that came up was Johnny Holland, 49ers linebackers coach, which again, there's incomplete data there.
Of course.
But the size is pretty similar. I find that very interesting. And I'm intrigued to watch him play because the 49ers, like, you've got Warner, you're going to keep Martin, you've got Winters. After
Yeah.
that, and it's all up in the air. Like, it could literally be any combination of other linebackers that you have. And I think Blanton will have a real chance to make the roster.
Well, I really hope that the 49ers R&D department has come up with the player combinator at some point, because
Yeah.
if you took Stone Blanton's instincts and ability to shed blocks from second level guys and to be able to just dominate a game, and he has done that at times. I mean, Mississippi State versus Missouri, it's a game I'm watching very biased. I mean, Stone Blanton was in everywhere. He was
Yeah.
everywhere. He was dominating that game against an outside zone team in Missouri. That says something. Sees it, hits it, attacks it, and really can blow games up. But if you combined him with Nick Martin, who can't get off of blocks
Yeah.
at the second level, but has crazy speed and athleticism and triggers like bat out of hell.
It's a damn good player.
Yeah. That would be a player worthy of 75 in the draft.
And just to be clear, so like I have undrafted free agency rankings, and then the most likely to make the roster. Like I had, or Blanton was my second rated undrafted free agent. I think he's the most likely out of anyone in this group to make the roster based on the depth or lack thereof the 49ers have at linebacker.
Fair.
And just the level of physicality that he can bring, which you think about linebackers who are going to make it late, you got to be able to play special teams. I would hope he could do that. I think he should be able to, if nothing else.
I mean, honestly, I like Martin more as the special teamer because special teams is mostly about traits and not so much about it. But that's neither here nor there. I think he has a decent shot, and if you get him into a camp, I think he's going to make it difficult on the 49ers to get rid of him. Let's talk about Drew Moss out of Colorado State.
Yeah.
I would say, borderline draftable. There were some guys in this draft who are of the Drew Moss ilk. A guy who transferred from Lamar. I like his meanness. I like how he moves.
I do too.
I think he has to 100% play guard. But when they had him at tackle,
that was my first note. My first note was, listen, this dude ain't a tackle.
I watched some of his tackle tape at Lamar, and he wasn't going to get drafted out of Lamar. It's fair enough. But he either had a pancake or he was on his back. So
right.
Somebody was making a flapjack on a play no matter what happened. It was a continental breakfast of tape for me, and I kind of enjoyed watching it. He moves so smoothly that it just wouldn't shock me at all if Chris Foerster really took a liking to him.
I could see him making the roster over Colby and like absolutely, because also like he's more fluid. Like Colby can get out in space, but he's like the first step with Moss, you just see it. And also there's a meanness, and he's lower. So in terms of the center of gravity and in terms of that like leverage game, you see him at times. He does like what I almost called him Chris Jones, what Alfred Collins does at times where he literally throws a guy. Like
Yes,
you see that at times. And again, there's some inconsistencies in his game for sure, but at times you've seen his pass sets like
just a few.
there are quite a few inconsistencies. It's also like he's playing tackle where he shouldn't play. I
Right.
think it's going to look a little better at guard, but there's a lot to like with it. There is a ton to like. I think he's the second most likely to make the roster.
Mhm.
You could even argue that he's the most likely just because one of the 49ers have an interior offensive line.
Yeah.
But like he's got all of the traits, and on tape, he's got this big bulky upper half, but this light bottom half where he can move and get out in space and has quick feet and scan stuff fairly well. He's intriguing. There's some work that needs to be done, but he attacks, and that's something I really like.
There's part of me that wonders if the Niners had him higher on their draft board than they did Connor Colby, but they figured that Connor Colby was more likely to get
Yeah.
drafted, or there was, going to be more competition for him as a UDFA than with Moss.
What's the cheaper option here? Yeah.
Right. And they and as much as I've gone in and I will never back down on the why are the 49ers being cheap this year, like that's actually good draft management. That's good asset management. Don't use a draft pick on a guy that you are certain you can get as a UDFA in like 40 minutes. Frankly, those
Yeah.
calls are being made at like the middle of the 6th round at the latest.
They're like on like day two. Day
Right.
two. I mean, they're being made weeks in advance, but yeah.
Right. So I imagine that this is my guess. I like Drew Moss more than I like Connor Colby. I can see why they like him enough to bring
Oh
him
yeah.
in. It wouldn't have shocked me if he was higher. And there's
Tape is better for sure.
tape is better for sure. And there's some Pooney here, is what I want to throw out there. Pooney was a tackle at Kansas. You could see it when he would get out. He could really move. I love the word that you use there, fluid. It's a very fluid mover. And you put him in tight quarters, maybe he's less susceptible to the blow up coming the other way on him. So I
Yep.
really like this Drew Moss. And I do think this is the line of demarcation here for guys who can make the team. Jacob Robinson, Stone Blanton, and then Drew Moss. I'll tell you who everyone's going to want to make the team come August, though. Corey Kiner, running back, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Go in before I go in the opposite direction.
So I'll get to it before you get to it. I think he's just a guy. I think
Okay, Jake,
he's
I'm looking at my notes here, okay? I have one note. Well, actually two.
what?
The first note is stump, exclamation point. The second note, JAG,
Yeah.
Jag.
Yeah,
Just a guy.
I see. So here's what I see. Here are my notes. Seen more physicality than burst, a little stiff. He's like Caleb Johnson. Like I don't and again, I did not like Caleb Johnson. People were like Caleb Johnson should have gone around to Caleb Johnson's not a good. I mean, I don't want to say not a good player, but like I don't know if he's going to be a high upside NFL player. Like if you block for him and you let him just get space, he's got enough like by the fifth step speed to be productive in a physical frame.
This is Caleb Johnson
This
or
is
Corey
Caleb
Kiner.
Johnson I'm talking about.
Kind of the same for Corey Kiner.
Right, Kiner, I don't see a ton of change of direction.
No.
I don't like hate his route running. It's nothing special.
No.
It's okay. But I'm not seeing much. I'm seeing a guy who will run in a straight line and can bounce off of some tackles because he's got some physicality and he's got a strong lower half. But in terms of elusiveness, intriguing qualities, I don't see much.
I'm with you. I do kind of like his like little stutter step thing that he does to try to make linebackers miss, but he's playing in the Big 12. Linebackers at that level are just there's no nice way to put them. Not good. They're
Yep.
just not good. I mean, Big 12 linebackers in particular are woeful. And I just don't see he's not getting you anything that's not there. So he is a replacement level player. We like to call those guys Jags. He is just a guy. Can he make it? Sure. Maybe if 3 other guys get injured and you need a body, he's going to do you just fine. He is probably someone who's going to bounce around practice squads for his entire career. He's going to be a preseason all-star. There's nothing wrong with that. Hopefully he can make some good money off of that.
Because listen, like if there's going to be like an undersized, safety, like a fourth string safety who he's going to run over, right? Because he's going to get a good lane to run and he's going to run over him. And then he's just going to, have space to run. So people are going to go, oh my God, this guy's incredible. right?
Yeah.
That's like for sure going to happen in like preseason game number 3. Like
There's
bank
just
it.
there's nothing to hang your hat on with his game at all. Like I was looking
He
for it.
was
It's like
productive and he's just
he was
straight.
productive behind
Yeah.
a hell of an offensive line at Cincinnati relative to
Yeah.
competition. It should be noted. I mean, he's running behind one of the best guards in college football last year in Kandra. He's running behind at least one NFL caliber tackle. They're running it inside zone a lot
Yep.
against defenses that are not set up to handle inside zone because they're playing base dime. Like
College defenses, man.
I really, I don't know why we always want to do this. I have no personal amicus towards Corey Kiner. There's a reason he went undrafted. There's a reason he got brought in.
Yep.
He'll take what's blocked for you, but he's not going to get you an ounce more than that.
The first 3 guys, unless he bounces off a tackle, the first 3 guys I think were draftable. This is where the demarcation point. The next 3 I don't think
Right.
were.
Okay, let's talk Sebastian Valdez, defensive
Really
tackle.
interesting guy.
Fascinating. He's at Washington. Did not stand out at Washington, it should be noted. I found a couple of plays that were like, oh, there's something there.
Yep.
And everything else, you're like, and which one is he again?
Right, because they also have like 3 defensive tackles going, and one of them's 52 and one of them's 55.
Yeah,
and he's 50. It's like
50.
Yeah.
Tell me about Sebastian Valdez and why you like him and why you don't think he'll make it.
Weird frame, right? So he almost looks a little bit like Drew Moss, where I'm like, I kind of want to see him at guard. Like, I almost want him to play offensive guard.
Yep.
Because he kind of has better traits for that.
A little Ben Garland action in your life?
For sure. Like, I kind of think that's a possibility for him. So his frame is interesting. I mean, you weren't taking the bait on the comparison I made. I'm not talking about his tape whatsoever.
Okay.
Physically, he reminded me a little bit of like a young JJ Watt, of just like a guy that, again, physically, just in terms of like, he's got a great frame. He looks super athletic, like a little light, but also weighs in at, 300 or whatever it is. Yeah. So it's fine. He weighed in at 301, which is totally fine at defensive tackle.
301, played 3 years at Montana State.
Right. Had a 34 bench reps, pretty great 10-yard split, great agility grade. Fine explosion, which is not ideal. It's kind of what you want. He is basically just a nose tackle. Like, he has no plan of attack as a pass rusher whatsoever. Has no moves. Yeah. We talked about some guys that didn't have bags. He is not.
Next level lack of bag.
So he's a guy that's just sort of Shamar Stewarting, except he's a little bit better at reading. Like, his job is to just push, hold up against double teams, and disengage. I don't think he's great at disengaging off of blocks and actually making the tackle, but he doesn't get moved around very much. Like, he's pretty stout, pretty strong, even with like a mediocre pad level. So you see the traits. You're like, there's something there with this guy. Right now, he's just a nose tackle. And you say, I think realistically, the ideal for him is he's a guy that you get him on your practice squad for like 2 years, and you say, you don't know what you're doing. Let me spend 2 years and teach you what to do, and maybe you'll get bumped up, in one of these games, and you can play like backup 5th string nose tackle for us, and maybe try and block a kick, right? Like, that's kind of how I see him. And there is a world where those traits connect, because he's got strength, he's got speed, he's got agility. His explosion's not terrible. It's not great, but there is like a frame and a quality there that is intriguing, and it's kind of just a weird build. I don't expect that he's going to do anything in his NFL career, but like, there's a route where it could go really well for him.
He's got anchor like a sumbitch, and he's got big, strong hands. And listen, this is a team that's playing Evan Anderson as this kind of a player. Just hold up against double team.
10 times more athletic than Evan Anderson.
And I think he's got a much stronger anchor. He won't get turned around. This feels like Valdez, there is a world in which we show up to training camp, and Valdez is holding the gap so well, so consistently, that they just can't cut him because they don't have anybody else like that, save for Collins, who's doing it not with technique and guile and strength, but because he is the largest man.
Well, he is doing it with strength too.
Oh, fair enough. So I'm sorry.
But yeah,
Collins is a little loose. Like Valdez has one thing that he can do and one thing only. He is going to win on pad level. He is going to hold on to you. You can bring 2-3 men. It does not matter. He will hold the door.
You should see him in pass rush where you're like, buddy, what's the plan?
No, we shouldn't see him in pass rush.
Yeah.
That
is
just
like, you want to see something, right?
And the reason that Anderson, they brought in Anderson because they thought he could be this kind of a player, right? They thought that he could just be a gap
and
filler.
there are times he does. There are times he does, but he doesn't.
And there's a little bit of wiggle there, though, where you go, oh, and if you let him loose, he might be able to give you something there, too. Like, he can get into the backfield. Sebastian Valdez will never see an offensive backfield. He'll never get there. But the guy that I want to kind of comp him to, he is a homeless man's Omar Norman Lott. When you watch the Norman Lott tape, there's plenty there. He got drafted second round, right? But, like, what does he do? Holds the gap. Just holds it. He's going to win. You can't push him back. It does not matter. He has a foundation of cement. He is there. And that's kind of what you see with Valdez, where it's like, hey, man, you don't necessarily need to win every. That's a win for him. Just holding the damn line, put him at one technique. And I think the Niners would be very benefited by that because, yes, they have CJ West now. Yes, they have Alfred Collins now. Both of those guys want to get into the backfield. And if you're trying to rebuild a run defense, you're going to need someone to hold the gap. This might be the only guy on the team, save for Anderson, who you think can reliably do that. And I'm not as high on Anderson as they are. So
Agreed.
I think I'm higher on Valdez just on the limited skill set that he provides is so needed for this team. I say that the point of demarcation was Moss. I've now talked myself into putting Valdez above that line. But that would be kind of
I put Kiner above
just
because Kiner is like, there's not a lot you're like really worried about, you know, but he's just like, if he's your fourth running back and like he can tackle, he could be a gunner, and the floor's higher. So I have him at 4 on both of my lists. Valdez, though, like I could absolutely see him making the team. The last guy,
not a chance.
Dude, so this was probably Isaiah Nair was the guy I knew whose name popped out, right? Because I was like, he was like talked about as being draftable.
There's some chatter.
Like I was like, oh, I'm excited to watch him. He's not good. I'm like, I don't mean this to be harsh. Let me clarify because that was harsh.
Jake, you don't need to clarify being correct. He's not good. What is it he does that's good?
The best thing he has to me is he's a vertical threat. He has a little bit of an ability to run a stutter go. Granted, the stutter go isn't that he's not shaking guys. It's like guys biting really badly, and then he has just the raw speed. There were a couple times he looked lost. He should be a great blocker. But he's not really getting connected or finding work that effectively. He's got the size and strength. He's got elite traits. Like he's got elite traits by every measure. And he did suffer like Nebraska and Dylan Raiola, who's like a lot of flash, but not quite substance yet. And that offense is kind of messy. But like, I didn't see him as an impressive route runner at all. He's really loopy, really rounded, wasn't sharp with his footwork. Didn't have a lot of craft in trying to like stem his routes to attack leverage. No. He was just sort of out there.
Stem his routes to attack leverage. This dude didn't know where he was running half the time. The only catches that he made are when no one was within 10 yards of them on, deep digs. And he has bad hands. And so you're looking at a guy with an RAS score of a 9.97.
And nobody took a shot on him.
218. 38-inch vertical. 11-1 broad jump. 40-yard dash, 4.43 with a 10-yard split of 4.56.
If you show a little bit, Isaac Tisla, whatever, went in round 3 to the Detroit Lions. Like, you could be an unpolished
Deontay Thornton, who is an awful wide receiver, went round 3, I believe, as well. Like, the fact that no one took him shows just how rough the tape is. Because these traits alone... I wanted to
be excited, but it's bad.
No, it's every catch he makes looks like it's the first time anyone's ever thrown. He catches the ball the way people who weren't expecting something to be thrown at them catches. Sometimes he catches it. Most of the time, it falls to the ground. But like, if you were to say quick, basically every pass should be preceded by think fast, because that's what he needs to do. It is a tough watch.
And they like handed the ball off to him behind the line of scrimmage. And I was like, okay, this is a chance. And then he just like looked slow. Like he just slowed down and didn't try and get to the edge. It was really disappointing to watch.
Watching Nebraska's offense last year was in general a disappointing premise. But I have a lot of affinity for Matt Rule. I've known Matt Rule for a long time. You understand why a guy like Matt Rule, who really believes in his coaching acumen, brought this guy in, because it's like, hey, what a ball of clay. If Matt Rule can't turn this guy into a receiver who can get drafted at any point, it ain't happening for him. And there are going to be ample people who will look at this RAS score and be like, oh, they really need to give him a shot. No, they don't. No, they don't. And it will take moments, I imagine, for everyone to realize this isn't it. Because it doesn't matter how fast you are. It doesn't matter how big you are. All of these things, we love traits. We love these things. You need to have this. This guy is fighting it. Left, right, center, up, down. Any direction you can think of, he is fighting the football. And outside of wide receiver, there's not a role for a player like this. Like I don't know where you put a guy who can't play wide receiver somewhere else.
He plays tight end, gains 20 pounds, and then learns to block. But that's a
big ask.
Yep. Yeah. I don't see it. I don't see it.
I don't see Isaiah Naylor at all, and Nair, I should say, and I am pre-annoyed at the hype that's going to be around him for no good reason. Oh wow, he beat
That is my favorite part of the draft cycle. Is when fan accounts who are doing their job right. That's what they do. Is they hype everything.
Yep.
Is they just get like any player that gets drafted, like this dude's going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem. Flame emoji, yep. Skull, anything you got, smoke out the nose.
Should we just start holding them accountable? Like,
maybe
should we be the absolute?
I don't know. They're having fun.
Yeah, but they're also deliberately misleading a fan base.
They are.
People don't seem to want to. Apparently, there's a line, and I know we live in a very flat world, and this is going to be way too in the weeds. But how is it that if I get a take wrong or you get a take wrong, we're held accountable? But a fan account who just hypes up everybody like they're the next best thing never seems to lose any credibility. Should we have started with zero credibility? Is that what we should do?
Yeah.
Sorry, you don't need to answer that.
It's not great. It's not great. I like being held accountable, even if people are doing it in the wrong way.
There's no wrong way to be held accountable. If we're wrong, we're wrong. And you know what? Yep. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I really enjoy being wrong. I don't actively seek it, but I enjoy being wrong because now I'm learning something. Now this is a new thing. It's kind of annoying being
right. Like for example, like I'm writing, and you can get it on the Hutch report.
Yep.
About George Kittle's contract, and I mentioned Jalen Conyers. So Jalen Conyers went undrafted. I think that's insane. Right. And I would be shocked if he actually didn't make the Miami Dolphins roster. But if he flames out and if he doesn't land anywhere and just never works out, I will absolutely take that on the chin. I don't think that's how it's going to go. But if that happens, I'll be like, yep, I totally whiffed on that one. Don't know, maybe he was too lumpy, right? Sure.
Totally. If it was so empirical that we could tell you what was going to happen from miles away with certainty, would this be any fun? Hell no. The whole point is the uncertainty. Unfortunately for you, we're certain on when we'll see you next. We got more videos to come. We got rookie mini camp next weekend. Jake's going to be out there. Now I've put him on the spot. He wasn't sure if he was going to go. I'm out of town for a wedding. He has to go now. There. I've said it in a video. Shout out Rah Rah. Shout out Goat Lord. And we'll see you in the next one.